Okay, Bismillah. Right, folks, welcome back to another lesson. My class here, percentages are. Now, this has already been covered in previous YouTube videos, so we're just going to do some supplementary ones. Now, when we talk about 1%, what does 1% mean, family? 1% means, oh, hang on 1 second, the brush has been activated. Okay, when we talk about 1%, we are talking about 1 over 100. So 1% is 100. To work out 100th, Ali, what do we do? To work out 100th of something, what do we do? We divide it by
10.
But to work out 100, you divide it by
100.
100. 100, yeah? It's not 100. Good. Okay. Next question. Okay, Mr. Yusuf. Right. We have now 10%. 10%, what does it mean?
Divided by 10.
Well, what does it mean as a percentage? It means it's 10 out of 100. Now, 10 over 100 will simplify down to what? 1/10. So, as Yusuf said right at the beginning, if you want to work out 10%, we divide it by, what Ali said earlier as well, you divide it by 10 because you're working out a tenth of something. Okay, Mr. Fahmy, I want to work out 25%. So 25%, what is 25%? What does it mean? 25 over 100, which simplifies down to 1/4. To work out 1/4, family, what do we do to work out 1/4? We half and half. That's a beautiful way of doing it, yeah? We can divide it by 2 and then divide it by 2. Or we can simply divide it by 4. Lovely. Okay, you get this all done nice and clearly. Go and squash it in your work. Make it nice and clear and make it nice and big.
Use it color.
You can use color if you have color available. If you don't have color, I don't need to spend extra time on color. Just get it done. That's for me to illustrate to the students the difference. Okay, 33 and 1/3%. Okay, let's have Fatima. Fatima, what does 33 and 1/3% mean? It means 33 and 1/3 out of 100. Which simplifies down to 1/3. Excellent answer there. Well done. Okay, how do we work out 1/3, Fatima? Divide by 3. Yes, well, excellent answer there. You fantastic answers there, mashallah. Tabarakallah. Okay, right. You gotta work out 50%. Let's have Layla. 50% means 50 over 100. Layla's in both parts of the room, mashallah. Okay, Layla, 50%. What's that simplified down to? 1 over 2, half. So 50% of something means half. If you go to a sale and there's 50% off, it means you only pay half the price. Okay, now, if I want to work out 50%, Layla, how do we work it out? We have to divide by 2. So these here are called the common percentages that we need to work out. They're the more common ones. Now let's put some question into practice here. Let's put here. Let's put a question number now. So we got to work it out of, say, here we go. We're going to work out 1% of 600. Okay. So let's get our 600. If we divide 600 by 100, what do? We remove both the zeros. So the answer is equal to 6. If I want to work out 10% of 600, what do? Take out 1 0 because we divided by 10, that gives you 60. If I want to work out 25% of 600, what do? Divide it by 2 and then divide it by, that's one way of doing it. So we do 600, we halve it, and then we halve it again. So half of 600 is 300. Half of 300 is 150.
Judge, the one that you're showing us now are then examples.
It's an example now. We're doing some question now.
Okay. Can we put a line like?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Do you have to write to me? Do you have to write to me?
Here are we. Oops, come down here. Oh, okay. Right up here as well. Okay, I'm going to work at 33 and a third % of 600. Zainab, what do I do? What do we do? We divide it by 3. So you got 600. We divide it by 3. That gives us what? 200. Okay. Mr. Yusuf, on 50% of 600, what do we do?
You do 600 divided by 2.
Which gives us?
300.
300. Excellent. Okay. Is that nice and straightforward?
Yeah.
Okay, let me give you a number over here then for the next question. There we go. I want you to work at 1%, 10%, 25%, 33 and a third % of, okay, 50% of this number. Give me 1 second while I quickly adjust the question slightly. Okay. That's an 8. That will help the question. Okay, off you go. You got to work out for me now all these answers. Give me 1 second. Okay, students again stuck on this question here, the 1248 one. 1248 to work out 1%, then if you sit down, pay attention to what we're doing. 1248, if you divide it by 100, you put the decimal point at the end, okay? You move it back 2 places, and that gives you an answer of, what's the answer? What is the answer?
Oh, 12.48.
Okay, I'm just going to squeeze the answer on top of here because I haven't got space on one. 12.48. Now, that happens when we divide it by 100. Now, 1,248, we're going to work at 10%. So you put the decimal point at the end, you move back by 1 place, and the answer becomes 124.8. I have to write up here, unfortunately, because I'm going to have space. I want to work out a quarter or 25% of 1,248, so we divide it by 4. So 4 into 1 is nothing, remainder 1. Okay. Okay, 4 and 12 is 3. 4 and 4 is remainder 1. Pardon, sorry, no remainder. Asking about the 3 1. 4 and 4 is 1. 4 and 8 is 2. Okay, 3 and 1 is nothing. If you're going to work at 33 and a third %, we divide it by 3. How many 3s going to 12 then? Is 4. 3s and 4s is 1 remainder 1. That's the question I was actually doing earlier. I was doing the divide by 3 question. 3s and 18 is 6. Are you doing this clear?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Are you doing this? You've done it? So you're going to work out 50% of 1248, we divide it by 2. So 2 and nothing is, 2 and 1 is nothing, remainder 1. 2 and 12 is 6. 2 and 4 is 2. 2 and 8 is 4. And that's the end of the question that you've been given to do. So here's the solutions to the questions that we've just been giving you now for classwork. Can you please tick them? First one's 100. Second one is 30. The third one is 350. I want to work out 1% of 489, put decimal point at the end, and divide it by 100. So that gives us an answer of 4.89. Done. Okay. Now, you had one other question to do now. The question that you were given was working out 33 and a third % of what number, Fahmy? 6,600. Now, when we work out that, what are we doing? In actual fact, we are dividing by 3. We can do the bus stop upside down as well. Have you seen that before?
No. Yeah.
Okay, if we divide 6,600 by 3, that'll give you 2,200. Okay, and that's the end of the classwork examples. Now I've recapped them all. you can mark your work to make sure that everything is good. Okay, is everything good so far there? Anybody not clear? Tell me, we can do some more examples. Fahmi, are you happy? Good. Ali?
Yes.
Happy? Khadija?
Yeah.
Okay, Zainab? Yes. Layla? Okay, Zainab? Oh, Zainab back. Okay. Ruqayya? Are you happy? Yeah. What's wrong? Cheer up, what's wrong there? I'm going to work out now 3%. Okay, of what number? Let's give you
16. Don't you, when you open the door, it's really hot in here.
690.
For 16.
Okay, to work out 3%, what do we work out first? First of all, we start with 1%. Right, to work out 1%, open the door, please. To work out 1%, what do we do with 690? What do we do with it? Fully. Open the door. To work out 1%, we
Divide it by 1%.
divide by 100. So 690 divided by 100 will give us an answer of, what will it give us?
69. 6.9.
Okay, divided by 100, go back, 1, 2. So 1% is, works out to be 6.9. Now I want to work out 3%. So how do we get from 1%, what we do know how to do easily, to get to where we need to be? We've got to 1, but I don't want 1, I want 3, family. What do we do? Time by 3. So 1 multiplied by 3 will give us 3%. So 6.9 similarly is times by 3. So 9 times by 3 will give us
27.
6 times by 3 will give us
18.
add 2 is
20.
so the answer is
20.7.
20.7. So for example, if you want to work out 7%, what would you do? You would still work out 1% and then time by. So you're using it like a number bond multiply technique. Now, if I want to work out 5%, hang on a second. I haven't asked a question yet.
No, I forgot you did say. It's got 70% in the column.
17.5.
No, she said for you.
70.
70 is exactly like 20 and 30. How you do that?
No, like, is it a 50 is
Okay. 5% of okay. Hang on a second, hang on. Right, Fahmi, give us the idea for this question. What do we do? We first of all work out,
10% then divide it.
so you work out 10% first of all, because 10% is dividing by 10, knock off a 0. So 10% will give us what? 80. And now you want to go from 10%, we halve the 10%, because half of 10 is 5%. And then half of 80 is 40. Okay, are we happy with that?
You can explain that again.
Of course, yeah. Now, if you want to work out 5%, 5 is half of 10. Do we know how to work out 10%?
Yeah,
Is that easy?
yeah.
What do we do?
You knock the zero.
You divide by 10. No, knock off the zeros. That's not mathematics. We knock off the zeros. That's what we do in terms of 800. To work out 10%, we divide by 10. We remove 1 0. We don't just say knock off the zero. We got to say divide by 10 first. That gives you 80. So now you have 10%. To get from 10% to 5%, what do we do? Divided by 2. That's done. Okay? Now, if you want to work out, say, for example, 15%. Okay, 15% of
360.
240. What do we do first? First of all, we work out,
10%,
then we work out,
5%,
and then what do we do to both of those?
add together.
Then add them up. So now we are now adjusting our method to make it make sense. 10% of 5% is
15%.
15%. Now, if you want to work out 10% of 240, what do? We knock off, remove on 0 because we're dividing by
10,
10. That gives you
24,
24. And then we have to halve the 10% to get to 5%. Half the 24, that gives you
12,
gives you 12.
add them together.
Add them together gives you 36.
That's how we
So what you do on the left hand side over here, you do on the right hand side. Divide that by 2 as well, and then you add them up. Okay, I want to work out 20% of
300.
Joshua, you know, for 15%, you divide it by 2 and then you divide by 5.
which one?
The 15%.
No, you.
No, you work out 10%.
Yeah.
You halve it, you get 5%, then add them up. Because 10 and 5 is 15. Once you know what 10% is, then you halve the answer of 10% gives you 5%, and 10 add 5 is 15. So you work out 15%, we work out 10 and 5 and add them together.
So I think 20%.
So the answer for the 20%, to work out 20%, first of all we work out 10%, which is a tenth of 360, which is 36. And then to work out 20% from 10, which is simply double it or just add it again, whichever way. So 36 down by 2 will give us 72. Happy with that?
Yes.
Now to work out 30%, first of all what do? We work out 10%, and then we times by 3. So now that you begin to understand it more better, and that's how we would work out all these numbers. So we divide that by 10, that gives you 48. And then we times it by 3,
You know.
times it by 3. So 8 times by 3 is,
Just
hang on a second, 4 times by 3 is 12. So the final answer is 144. So 30% of 480, work out at 10%, triple it, that gives you 30%. And that is all done. Okay, to work out 17.5%, 17.5 is made up of 10, add 5, add 2.5. 10 add 5 is 15, 15 add 2.5 is 17.5. So now, let's see how we do that. We know that to work out 10%, what do? We divide by 10. Divide by 10. So we remove a 0. So 10% becomes 80. Okay. Now, I want to work out 5% knowing 10%. How do I get to 5% if I know 10%? What do we do to the 10% value? What do?
You divide it by 2.
Divide it by 2. So we get 80 and we divide that by 2. So 80 divided by 2 becomes 40. Okay, remember folks, your comments have been recorded. Okay. Now, if you know what 5% is, and then you want 2.5%, what do?
divided by 2.
Divided by 2. So again, carry on divided by 2. So 40 divided by 2 is equal to now
20.
20. Now what do we do to all of these numbers? Add them all up. 80 add 40 add 20 gives us
140.
Joshua, when you add those ones, it doesn't even.
hang on.
Or the 1,100.
Okay. Right, one little mistake spotted by one of my students here. 10% at 5 at 2.5 is 17.5. I've written 17 by mistake earlier. Please make note, please, it's 17.5. I'll put it in now. Okie dokie. 80 at 40 at 20, we got 140. That's all done. This is the technique. This is what I want to see in your work. So don't squeeze into columns, very thin ones, without the clarity. We need to see clarity. So you can do 3 columns on a page, not more than that. So you have loads of room to do all your work, all these little squiggles and things. Okay, are we happy with that, folks?
Yes.
Very happy?
Yes.
Khushi?
Yes.
Khushi Mubarak?
Yes.
Good, excellent, well done. Inshallah, we'll see you in the next part of the video. Okay, let's just put a quick red underline in here. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's looking lovely now. Okay, folks, I'm going to give you some questions to do now on that style of questioning. So, let's have a look. I want you to work out for me 15% of 500. I want you to work out for me 17.5% of 1200. I want you to work out for me 30% of 2,400. I want you to work out for me, okay, 35% of 8,800. And those of you feeling 7% of, that should be 250 by the way. Can you change that to 0 please? 7% of 250. Off you go. This is your now classwork question for you to try. See you back in a bit. Okay, this is the one the students want me to go through with them today now. 33% they got stuck on this one in the classwork. So first of all, I want to work out 35% of 8,800. So first of all, I'm going to start with 10%. So 10% of 8,800, what do? We divide it by 10. So we remove 1, 0. So 10% gives us what answer? 880. Now we want to go from 10% to 35%. So we need, what could we do now? We could do a nice simple step. We could times it by 3. And that will give us straight away to 30%. Okay. So times by 3. Okay, 10%. We know 10%, so we can work out 30%, yes? Are you happy with that? 10 to 30. So 0 times by 3 is 0. 8 times by 3 is 24. 8 times by 3 is 24. Add 2. I'll come over there. 26. Okay, 30%. So we've just worked out 30% now by doing 2 steps. Well, what's left now? Come on, sit down. What is left? How much more do we need? What do we need to add to 30% to give us 35%? We need to add to it how much? 5. So 30 and 5 will give us 35. Okay, I'm going to remove this 2 for the moment because we don't need it there. It's going to get in my way actually, so get rid of it. Now, how do we work out 5%? Do we work out 5% from 10%? How do we get from 10 to 5? What do we do?
Divided by 2.
Divided by 2. Okay, where's 10% on this side?
880.
Divided by
2.
2. So 880 divided by 2 will give us what?
4,400.
440. Okay, now we need to add them up. So we need to add the 30% value and the 5% value.
0,
8, 10,
3.
3. So 35% is equal to 3,080. Are we all happy with that?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Understand.
Okay, so we're going to stop there. We're happy to stop there now?
Yes.